My mom called me on the weekend and asked me how I was doing, and I said I was fine, but you see, my friend, I was lying. E3 2021 happened, and I wish it didn't. I wasted an entire weekend watching CG trailers, a gross amount of similar looking indie games, and viewing these plastic hosts with these artificial smiles talking about games they knew nothing about, giving it this manufactured praise. Meanwhile, YouTube's chat rooms despised every second of these presentations, but it started out pretty strong. First, Jeff Keighley showed off a ton of indie games and then gave us gameplay and the release date of Elden Ring. From Software has been making the same game for a decade, but they are so perfect and each entry is so iconic that they quickly cemented themselves as the best developers of the 2010s. Don't say it. Don't you dare say it. Now they want to make the Dark Souls of open world games.
And speaking of Among Us, last year you may remember the very rare Jeff Keighley mask was available as a Twitch drop around the Game Awards, never to be seen again. Well, never fear, today the mask is back. Just head to Twitch, connect your account, and watch 15 minutes or more of Kickoff Live to get your very own Jeff Keighley mask once again, and then it goes back into the vault.
Then you had this funny Death Stranding trailer. Kojima, why are you focusing on the oranges? They announced a new Nier game, but this art style and gameplay look a bit too cartoony for my taste. Tales of Arise is probably going to be the next big anime JRPG that's going to be the focus of, oh, why didn't this generic anime game get a nomination at the Game Awards? Ubisoft was up next, and honestly, the only two games I liked were Mario and Rabbids 2, Where is Rayman, and Riders Republic. This was cool to see. So it's this open-world extreme sports-like steep game where you can do whatever you want. You can play in exports races, fly through the sky in a jetpack, bike through these small mountain ridges, and there's even a fun online Tony Hawk multiplayer where you need to perform tricks to get specific points on the map, like Splatoon, but less boring. And finally, you can just do nothing. And honestly, the more I see from Far Cry 6, the more I want to play it.
Good boy. Come back. Good dog. Good dog.
Everything else was boring Ubisoft stuff, and no Beyond Good and Evil 2.
What?
Gearbox is up next, and they're making Homeworld 3! Homeworld is one of the best RTS franchises ever made, and now we finally get to see some gameplay.
Nope!
But hey, check out this Borderlands movie with Kevin Hart, Kate Blanchett, and Jack Black. Fuck, dude. Fuck. And then we come to Microsoft, who have been the biggest joke for the past 8 years, falling flat on their face into a pile of manure. The last generation gave the people 0 reasons to buy their consoles. The previous conferences have been nothing but showcases for third-party developers that sold their games on PC and the PS4, but after buying a ton of high-quality studios like Obsidian, Double Fine, and $7.5 billion later, they acquired ZeniMax, giving Microsoft exclusive rights to Bethesda, id Software, Machine Gun Games, and Arcane Studio. Xbox prepares to take on Sony and Nintendo as an actual competitor this generation. And they are hoping that Bethesda's newest game, Starfield, will be the IP we'll be talking about for years to come. But the trailer they released has me only asking one question. Why was there a single bite taken out of that cheese sandwich? Let me try to put some context to this. So we have this astronaut dude coming back from a mission. We don't know how long he was gone. He comes back and we see the cheese sandwich with only one bite taken out of it. So we know he made it and took one bite before leaving his ship to go on the mission. He doesn't even finish the damn thing and then goes straight into the cockpit and leaves the planet. Bam! Release date. Why would you waste food like that? The bread is probably stale by now. If there's meat in there, you're just leaving it to rot. But more importantly, why should I give a single shit about this game? So many games that were announced were mostly CG trailers, forcing the public to rely solely on the developer's history for any hope that a good game is coming. And if CD Projekt Red can fuck up, anyone can fuck up. At least Halo looks neat, if not dull. I saw trailers for 4 different dystopian Russian first-person shooter role-playing games in Stalker 2, Chernobylite, Pioneer, and the one I'm looking forward to is Atomic Heart. I haven't seen a trailer for that game in years, and while it's sad we haven't gotten a release date yet, it's taking all 3 of those games and throwing them in the fucking garbage on sheer creativity alone.
Does the savior of Neo Babylon stand among us?
No, what did they do to my boy? Babylon's Fall was meant to be Platinum's next hyper-fast action game, but they work for Square Enix. Square hates video games. They instead show you 16 mobile games at E3 rather than showing Final Fantasy 16. So the PC gaming show was one long ad for MechWarriors 5. Any game they showed looked generic or just boring, except for 2 games. Death Trash is something I've been looking forward to for about 2 years now, and it has this thing, so that's all you need in order to make an informed purchase, and Lemnis Gate, which is a 25-second 1v1 turn-based first-person shooter where you take turns playing a simulation trying to gun down your opponent, but after you go, your opponent controls one of his guys to take your guy out before you can take his other guy out, but then you can control another guy to stop that guy from taking out your first guy. Are you following me? And then we have Nintendo, and compared to their last Direct, this one was pretty good. We got a look at a new 2D Metroid game, the last one since Fusion. The problem is that the saturated Metroidvania genre is still trying to find a game to overthrow Hollow Knight, so this new Metroid needs to assert itself above all of its imitators. We also got a new WarioWare game, which is something no one expected, and finally we got a look at Breath of the Wild 2, and to me, Breath of the Wild was a near perfect game. The only problem I had with it was that the dungeons and dungeon bosses were all copy-pasted with the same idea. If they can improve on that, Nintendo will be sitting pretty on 2022. The Take-Two panel was probably the biggest slap in the face possible. We heard rumors about a new BioShock and a potential GTA 6 in the works, but instead all we get is a panel of people talking political and business jargon. This is not what E3 is meant to be. It's about showing the public all of the fantastical games being made, to show gamers that what they spend their free time doing isn't a complete fucking waste. Games are meant to be the next step in storytelling, but for every Last of Us and Hades, there are thousands of retro platformers, farming simulators, and live service bullshit. E3 to me is no longer an event I hold in high regard. The only reason I watched it was to make a video on it, but I don't want to end this video on a sad note, so if you want to stick around, I want to share the games I really enjoyed seeing. The Musical Story, Vocabulantis, Inscription, Replaced. Unmetal was funny as hell.
Who's there? Damn cat. Who's there?
Another cat.
Severed Steel, Road 96, Fallen Aces, 12 Minutes, Tribes of Midgard, Death's Door, Psychonauts 2, Demon Turf, Tunic. Great games aren't going away, but the marketing for games is in a transition period between COVID fucking everything up and just marketing always being shit. Oh, and for those of you wondering, the people I think that won it was Sony because they didn't show up and they released Ratchet & Clank that weekend. Pretty fun game. I would recommend it if you have a PS5.